And with that, we are live. Welcome to another edition of Sunday Night AstroLive. I'm Robert Phoenix, looking rather casual tonight. Maybe I should button up my upper button here. Button my show up, button my shit up. All right, who do we have? We have tonight with us the Weather Cat. She's dropping in for a little Sunday night visit. There she is, the amazing Peachy, giving us her telekinetic wisdom, directly transmitted from Lyra. She's a seventh level Lyran channel. That was told to me in my meditative state. I was visited by an enormous cat with 3 eyes. It was incredible. And got a direct download transmission about our little Lyran princess right there. Yeah, that's you. All right, so what's going on, everybody? How are you? Are you freaked out yet? Are you? Gee, what are we going to talk about tonight? I wonder what's on the menu. Man, hey, listen, you can't say that we didn't call it. We said it was coming, right? It was just a matter of which chart we were going to settle on. And I'll show you the, once again, the astro theme chart for Iran. So let me bring it up here real quick. Right here. So this is the chart that Astro Theme uses. Now, what you'll notice about this chart is that and I have the same time and coordinates for everything, which is strange because usually these charts are like 1-to-1. So and I actually like Astro Theme. So when I do a chart on Astro Theme, and the reason I like Astro Theme, it tends to have more celebrities. So when I'm looking for examples, I mean, it's kind of dynamic in that way, right? So if I want to just say, if I were to do like a person, I could do people born on the same day as that person, right? Or birth charts having the same aspect, moon sextile Jupiter, or Jupiter sextile the midheaven, right? You can get like comps, as they say. And we'll do a regular person just to show you that I think are interesting. But when we do this, right, we have the midheaven at 0 Libra, which puts the IC at 0 Aries. So when you look at this chart and you put Saturn and Neptune together right on that IC, it's like, holy shit. Incoming, right? Like incoming. Like as soon as Saturn and Neptune hit 0, which they have, it would literally hit Iran's chart. You guys get that, right? You've been here long enough. We talked about this a few weeks ago. And in the chart that I cast using the same time, the same coordinates, I've got a different degree for the MC and the IC. It's 6. So I'm trying to figure out which one do I go off of here, right? Am I going off of the Astro? And I tried to recreate the Astro theme experience. Unfortunately, I couldn't. Not on astro.com. So I kind of split the difference and went for the midpoint, which was around 3. And even that, it's like that was being generous because we're at 3 Aries with Saturn by the end of March. So it looks like, just based on the chart and timing, that this is the chart. This is the chart for Iran. And Iran is an Aries country. So what's interesting that when we think about this and the birth of a country, what is a country born out of? So when you think of the United States being a Cancer country, right? It's like the United States is born out of this idea of property rights, which is very Cancerian, right? You get to have your own little plot and your own little kingdom and your own little fiefdom, and then you get to raise a family, and then you get to have a lineage, right? These are all very Cancerian. So the United States is born in a lot of ways out of this Cancerian opposition to Capricorn oligarchs. Whatever you want to think of King George, he's an oligarch. And his chart, by the way, is a lot like Trump's. David and I talked about it, how ironically, or unironically, depending on how you look at it, Trump's chart and King George's chart are very, very similar. So this is how the United States is born, right? It's born. It's not just, hey, one day we're going to start signing this piece of paper, and we're gonna be born out of whatever day we start signing this piece of paper on, which happens to be July 4th in 1776. It takes about a month to get all the signatories down, but they signed that contract. That first name is July 4th, right? So that's the day that we typically use. Now, when we look at Iran, like, how did Iran become a country? Well, first of all, they staged a revolution, right? That's what they did. They staged a revolution, or it was staged in conjunction with them / for them. And that revolution was born out of violence. You ever have a peaceful revolution? You ever see what a peaceful revolution looks like? I don't know. Maybe the computer revolution was peaceful, but after the blood and carnage of AI in the coming months and years, peaceful might not be a word that we would use for that revolution. But by and large, most revolutions are not peaceful. It's like, hey, man, can we have your country? Dude, we'd really like to run your country. We'd like to run the country, man. We got some really good ideas, and we've been meditating on it. I just think that, well, we all think it's a we thing. It's not a me thing. It's never about me. It's a we thing. Okay, let's get that straight. We think that we could do a really good job running this place. And all you need to do is just, give us the keys. That's it. Just give us the keys, and we'll take care of everything. We'll take care of it, and we promise we won't do anything, based out of any kind of remorse or resentment towards you guys. We'll let you keep your money. You get to keep all that. We just get the keys to the kingdom. That's it. You cool with that? All right. Thanks, brother. High five. Like, it doesn't happen that way. Revolutions are bloody. They're combative. They're confrontational. And hence we have a country born out of Aries and Tehran. Like, their path was always going to be about conflict. Always. Like, look at the United States and Cancer. Oh, give us your tired and huddled masses. Let's hug them. Come to mama. Right? Like, that's Cancerian. It's like, hey, southern border, come on in. It's your new home. So it's all about things like migration and home. And now what's happened here, of course, is like the people that have been here for a while, they're like, hey, these people are kind of infringing upon my Cancerian rights. Like everything's going up in price because of all these people that have come here. Maybe we should stop being so damn Cancerian around here. Have you ever thought about that? But that's how we've been. We have all these agencies set up to take in the tired and huddled. That's all very Cancerian. And that's how our country's been. And of course, there's a high degree of sensitivity around being a Cancer country. Everybody's got feelings. Don't want to hurt their feelings now, do we? But we're not born out of this raging conflict, right? The overthrow of the Shah. And if you've ever seen like film, I lived through that shit. I hated it. I hated it. I hated the fact that our people were trapped in that embassy, and that and this is all part of it, of course, but it didn't make me go out and vote for Ronald Reagan, right? Just because it happened on Jimmy Carter's watch, meaning the hostage crisis. By the way, I'm going to be blowing my nose and sneezing a lot. The allergies here in Texas are off the charts. So, but it bummed me out, man. I was pissed. It's like, how do these fuckers do this? And it's like yet another more salt being rubbed in America's wounds. 1970s, just nothing but rubbing that salt in America's wounds. 72 Olympics, no problem. We'll fuck over your basketball team. We'll fuck over your top track stars. Not a problem. Not a problem. Oh, you got a president? Yeah, we'll kick him out. We'll add that on top of your pile of sorrows. 70s were not fun, and we reached the apotheosis of the 70s with the hostage crisis. And it's born out of this Aries anger, right? And even with Mercury and Mars together, they're in Pisces, but still Mercury Mars conjunction, and you got Mercury retrograde. That was not going to work. Starting a new country on a Mercury retrograde would not really recommend it. However, given the circumstances that the country was going to revert to a much more medieval form of government / theocracy, a Mercury retrograde in Pisces might actually be the kind of Mercury retrograde that you would want, because it would take you back about, 1,000 years or so in terms of women's rights. And let's turn the clock back. I can see Mercury retrograde doing just fine in a situation like that. But long term, no. A lot of retrograde here in this chart. We have Pluto retrograde, Saturn retrograde, Mercury retrograde. We got Neptune retrograde. We've got Uranus retrograde. Holy moly, mother of pearl. The only planets that are retrograde are Jupiter, Venus, and Mars. But here you can see your theocratical, your radical theocratical kind of system right there. This Pisces does rule religions. It does rule religions. Pisces and Sag rule different portions of religion. But the chart, it's going to be a country in conflict and at war. It's just the way it is. I think that they would have been better off if they'd waited about 3 weeks. and turn this country into a tourist country like Israel. Israel's a tourist country. They seem to be doing very well financially, don't they? Am I right? I'm right about that. And how's Iran doing financially? Moon and Taurus, not bad. Not bad. I mean, even with all the sanctions. But you're just not, you're gonna, with a template like this for your governance and sort of the social structure moving forward, it's not good. Being an Aries country is not good. You're always going to have enemies. You're always going to deal with threats, right? And then, negotiations. My God, the negotiations, enough to drive you fucking crazy. 0 Libra on the midheaven. Well, we're gonna negotiate. We're gonna negotiate a new nuclear deal. Oh yeah, we're gonna pay. That's what Obama did. Obama said we're gonna pay Iran a lot of money to not produce any enriched uranium and any complex nuclear systems. Right? He's paying them. That's like some people say, well, that's what you get, right? You decided. Well, what happened was Trump said enough of the payment shit. We're stopping that. In fact, we want our money back. This is what Trump said. Now, conversely, when you look at the Abraham Accords and all the various little, what do you call them, sheikdoms that Jared did deals with, those are money deals. Those were money deals. How do you think you go in? Do you think Jared Kushner just shows up with like a bunch of bagels and schmear from New York to sit down and carve out a deal? No, he's bringing money. He's bringing U.S. money to get them to buy their allegiance and say, yeah, we signed up for the Abraham Accords. We're into it. We're into it. We're partners. We went over that list, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, on Friday. That's what you do. Right? And by the way, of course, one of those Abraham Accord countries, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the United Arab Emirates received missile fire from Iran, if we can believe what's coming out of it. See, the thing with Neptune on close to the ascendant here is that we're not sure what the fuck is going on there. I mean, that's another component out of all of this, right? And especially with Mercury and Mars squaring that Neptune, we don't really know. We think we know, but we don't really know. Now, I will go in on something happening there, right? There's shit happening. Like there are big booms going off. By the way, did you like the thumbnail? I'll bring it back up here again. Let me show you. See that thumbnail? What I did is I found this. I fucking love technology sometimes. I combined Tehran and Austin together in one picture. That's Tehran and Austin. That is the thumbnail. Right? So this is some Tehran shit. This is some Austin shit right here. So I love technology. It lets you do stuff like that. Anyway, we just don't know what's going on. Yeah, we know that there's explosions. We know there's fire. We know that the Israelis have decided to dive into their disco bunkers and start dancing. If you haven't seen the videos, they're dancing while the missiles are going off. It's a very unusual affectation, I must say. Maybe something like a mummer's dance or something like that. Anyway, we know that's happening. Apparently, Netanyahu is on a plane and was turned away from all these. He was going to go to, I think, Cyprus. And they said, no. So he winds up landing thumbnail or chart. We're on the chart. So he winds up in Berlin. So Netanyahu isn't even in Israel. He's in Berlin. Last time I saw it, there was a bounty on his head. Maybe they ended it. The international courts better not go to France. The international courts have ruled that you can't see either. Well, what the fuck is that about? What is going on here? What is going on here, man? It said share. Stop share. I was sharing. My parents always said it's good to share. Learn how to share. You're an only child. You better learn how to fucking share. I do my best. To this day, I try to be generous to people and share. Anyway, yeah, we were talking about BB. He's not even there. He's in Berlin. Don't you think that's odd? I think it's really odd that of all places, Bibi Netanyahu winds up in Berlin, which ironically, Germany, right? That's where the Zionist movement, the modern Zionist movement with Theodor Herzl, it all started there. That's where it has its roots. So now he's gone back to the place where the whole thing started. We need our own land. If they'd waited a little while longer, they probably could have had Arizona. Would have been a much better deal, closer to Las Vegas, right? By the way, do they have casinos in Tel Aviv? Getting back to this Neptune on the ascendant, also the Neptune here in Sagittarius, it's going to be theocratic. And if we're looking at the soul of a country, right, how they present themselves to the world, especially with Neptune retrograde, they're taking that religious express back into time. Mini skirts, go-go boots, earrings, no. See ya. Black curtains with eye slits. There's your new fashion. Just like that. Right? Just like that. And when you think about it, right? Like who was really driving that revolution? We know it wasn't women. Women weren't driving that revolution. You think women wanted to go back in time? I don't think so. Women had it pretty good in modern day Iran. They were artists. They were, singers, designers. They had it pretty good. One of my friends was a good friend for a while, Susan Dehim. She was a child star in Iran on TV and went on to go study voice in Europe and became an internationally known singer and performer of some renown. Love Susan. Haven't talked to her in a long time, but she's great. And what's interesting is that she I guess she was married. Never took his name, but she married Richard Horowitz. And I loved Richard. Great musician, really cool guy. And they were a couple. And Richard was Jewish. And Sasan was Persian, right? It's like they could have been the poster child for world peace. Somehow the opportunity was missed. Susan is a Sagittarius and Richard's a Capricorn, if my memory serves me. But we don't know, right? We don't know what goes on in this place. But that Neptune, that's how the world sees it, right? As regressive and just all the horrible things. That's the other thing with Neptune, right? So you people that are Pisces rising or Neptune in the first house, and I'll go more with Neptune in the first house and Pisces rising. Although Pisces rising, you should listen to this. People that have that they wind up being scapegoats and martyrs. That's the nature of Neptune on the ascendant or Pisces rising. And so what do we see with Iran? Iran is like the scapegoat. Now, let's have a little discussion here for just a second. What happens if all of this is successful? Let's say this first wave of action is successful. Do you think that that we're done? It's like, oh, we're good now. We got rid of the most evil government and the most threatening regime on the planet. We're good now. Thank God. Now we can all just relax and just celebrate world peace. Do you think that's where this goes? Once they're done, right? And this thing will achieve some form of climax, however it looks. Are we all just going to go, wow, man, the world's just such a better place now that we don't have to have this existential dread about Iran anymore? And this, you know what? I'm looking around the globe and I don't see any other bad guys. There's no more boogeymen. We've done it. We've conquered all the boogeymen. World peace must be at hand. Congratulations, Donald Trump. You have solved the world's problems just by eliminating the whiff of an odor of a threat from Iran. And if you believe that, I got swampland in Florida. I bet you even swampland in Florida's gone up. Remember you used to say that? I got swampland in Florida. I bet you that fucking swampland is expensive now. You think, oh yeah, back in the days, it's just swamp. No, now it's like natural preserves, right? And owning a natural preserve can be very interesting. So can you use the swamp? I got some land in West Texas I'd like to sell you. Now that is a constant. So who's next on the hit parade? Once Iran is taken out, and we'll say that Israel's intact, although they're on the clock. They're staring down their 80-year curse. And the way things have been going for Israel lately is generally not good. Not good. The way that they've publicly and politically responded to a lot of this stuff is just, the public is noticing finally, right? For a long time, Israel sort of hid in the shadows a little bit, right? Sort of the power behind the throne. You didn't really see the hands of the puppet master, manipulating the puppets. You're just looking at the puppets. And all of a sudden people looked up. They go, oh, look. Oh, yeah. There's somebody manipulating all those people. And that's been happening. That has been taking place now. So that's not really a good thing for Israel, just in general. Right? In general, their stock is dropping. And it's dropping precipitously. And when you have somebody like Mike Huckabee, who advocates for Israel to have all the land that they've been promised in the Bible and the United States there to back it up, through Mike Huckabee, That's a problem. That is a real problem that the rest of the world sits up and notices. Now, you'll ask yourself, well, what do they do with that? Well, that's a whole other story, right? But the more that we see what's going on, the lesser the chance is that we'll be okay with ultimately business as usual. It is not going to be business as usual from here on out. The next, I guess, this thing could drag on for a while. I mean, if we're really just following the astrology, the closest this could get to some form of resolution would be the Saturn Sun conjunction on Iran's sun at 10 degrees. And I can tell you when that is. However, you got to remember Saturn goes retrograde. And so there can be a hint of a transformation from the top, which would be Saturn conjuncting the sun, and a new structure and a new governance that can be put into place. That's all very possible. But with the retrograde, all that could be undone. So we have their sun at 10 degrees, 31. Okay, so we'll go over here. We'll share this tab. I have to make sure now that I'm sharing this tab. It's called quality control. I am. Okay, good. All right, so let's go here. There's 10 degrees, 1031. Right there. Right there. May 13th. Saturn Sun conjunction for Iran. Very important time. Very, very important time. Last time this happened was in 1997, I believe. And I think there was a huge earthquake in Iran in 1997. We'll go back and check that for a second. All right, we got new people, new power, new leadership. We're tootling along, and all of a sudden Mars goes retrograde. Uh-oh. And he goes back. Oh, there's 10 degrees. The center cannot hold. Back. It's like Willie Mays going back to the center field wall. And it stops at 7 degrees Aries on 12/11. And for us to get back to 10 degrees and have the final piece in place, we have to go to 2027. And that is going to be right there on the 3rd of February. So essentially, we have something that's put into motion. It's almost like some kind of a temporary government that just does not hold. It doesn't hold. And there's a collapse. There's a massive collapse. And the collapse, in my estimation, the collapse is not good. Because if we were to go back, or let's just go back here to 2026. Okay. And we're going to have Saturn at 7 degrees, right? Which is sort of where it bottoms out. And then we have Neptune is also there still at 1 degree retrograde. They're both retrograde. Neptune gets up to what? 5? I think it's 4. Gets up to 4. So again, if we're using this chart, that means Neptune goes into Iran's 4th house and it goes retrograde. And whoever or whatever emerges out of the chaos theoretically could be even worse than whatever sort of paper tiger we've been dealing with Iran. It could be even worse. I mean, if this thing keeps going the way it's been going, and I think it will, right? Um, Iran is going to be hell on earth, especially with that Saturn retrograde and especially that Neptune retrograde. It's going to be hell on earth. And I don't think anything gets really settled with this country until Saturn moves through this opposition with Pluto in the chart of Iran. That does happen in 2027. And I'll show you. So that chart, let's see, is Pluto's at 18. So we're looking at Saturn at 18. So right there's the Pluto opposition. Even that goes retrograde. I don't think it goes as far back as 18, though. Yeah, it goes to 21. So that's when you're whatever kind of new leadership or new thing comes into power in Iran, it's not until they move past the Pluto opposition in the chart. See, there's Pluto right there, right? And even like Pluto in the 10th house. It's like, the 10th, I was thinking about the 10th house today. I was just thinking about it today. And how it's such an open part of the chart, right? Like it's happening, almost at the middle of the day. I mean, this is really almost like 12 noon up here, right? And it's happening almost at the middle of the day where the light, now some people will say, well, the light is brighter in the afternoon. But this is like the midday sun in the chart right here. So when people have planets in the 10th house in their lifetime, not transit-wise, but in their lifetime, those planets are on display for the rest of the world. That's what the rest of the world sees, right? Because it is the clear light. It is the clear light from the middle of the day that shines down upon that chart, whatever aspects those are. And for here, it's Pluto, and it's like, we got a regime change. We got a regime change. We got a regime change. And all we hear about is plutonium, plutonium, uranium, plutonium, plutonium, uranium. That's, nobody's ever going to be satisfied until Iran is completely transformed. And even natally, it's the Sun-Pluto opposition. It's crazy. This is a bad chart. I would not want this chart. No thanks. There's nothing redeeming about this chart. Even the moon, it's like, okay, well, it's at the end of Taurus. So you're barely getting any of that good Taurus moon shit. And it's more 6th house. So it's like moon in the 6th house. If you have the moon in the 6th house, I'm not shitting on your moon. I always have to be careful of that. Somebody's got a moon in the 6th house. I better have a disclaimer. Just as a country, I'm just looking at the totality of the chart. Your 6th house moon might be, the mother that's always nagging you to finish your homework and, keep your room straight and do the dishes and all that shit, right? And that's not always bad. It's like a parent that, in their own way, they're showing you that they care. They care about your future well-being. So they want to ingrain good habits so that you can learn to take care of yourself. That would be moon in the 6th house, right? But the rest of the chart may be spectacular. Like you might have the most kick-ass chart. But that's not the case with this chart. Very little of it is kick ass. It's mostly ass kicked. Like they shot their wad when they did the regime change back in 79. Totally shot their wad. And don't get me wrong, I like Jupiter in Cancer, but it's at the 29th degree. It's anoretic. There's nothing left. Right? Zero, zilch, nada. And you got Saturn and Virgo in the 9th house. That's retrograde. You know, you're always dealing with foreign entities that are critical of what you're doing. It's never fucking good enough, is it? With Saturn and Virgo in the 9th house. I know we said stop enriching the uranium, but after kicking it around a little bit with the guys, we decided that you should just get rid of all your weapons. That's really the best course of action. You do that, and no more sanctions, and we promise we won't do anything to you. Like, who the fuck is going to get rid of all their weapons? Some stupid Americans would. Sure. We're going to talk about Austin tonight. We're going to talk about Austin because Austin and Tehran are linked. They're linked. And we'll get into how and why they're linked. You see what I was saying about this chart? It's never good enough. And Saturn is the authority. Highest planet in the chart. It's retrograde. It's always going back. No, not good enough. Do more, do better. This is not like the mother who's telling you to do your homework, keep your room straight, help wash the dishes, walk the dog. This is different. Right? This is the father. And this is the father who's always moving the goalposts. Always. At least with the mother here, with the moon at 28 Taurus, you might get an allowance. Just like Barack Obama gave Iran that money. Here's your allowance, guys. Just knock off the nuclear weapon stuff. Sure, no problem, Barack. We're good. But that doesn't happen up here. No. Trump comes into office, turn up that deal. That's done. But that's Saturn retrograde in it's mutable, right? Saturn's mutable. 9th house, mutable house, retrograde. Move the goalposts. Sorry, we're moving the goalposts. Not good enough. And that's coming from the outside. Right? That's a 9th house thing. That's from other countries. That's why it's coming from the outside. And we have Saturn squaring the ascendant. Right? We just want to practice our religion. We just want to, go back to, the 1500s and just, put our clerics in charge, which for their belief system, now Saturn in the 9th house looks different, right? That's like the imam. The imam through Saturn being the teacher in the 9th house, the Hierophant, the high priest, the Pope, sort of fits their governance. For them, Saturn there is a real fit, right? And we're going to retrograde and we're going to take you back in time and you're going to wear these curtains, these blackout curtains with eye slits. And you'll thank us. Now, I know that I'm exaggerating a little bit, but in the early days with Khomeini, they were hardcore, man. They were very hardcore. You had Uranus and Scorpio, 11th house. You had groups of agitators during that time. I mean, just in general, look at all those retrograde planets. Brutal chart. I don't see this really ending until next year because They're going to have Saturn conjunct their sun, retrograde, go back to 4 degrees or 7 degrees, move forward again, conjunct the sun one more time, and that is the new format. That is the new identity. And then it's got to go and pass this Pluto opposition. That's no walk in the park either. You know, that's one of those kind of, I mean, who knows who's going to be in charge there? I mean, this whole idea of regime change is just insane. It's insane. Oh yeah, we'll just put the Shah's son in. Like, you had the Shah. Why do you want to put? I'll tell you what's going to happen. Somebody's going to emerge through this, and we don't know who they are yet. But somebody's going to emerge, and they're going to be more of a problem than whoever they've been dealing with. Because these mobs are all old. They're old. What will happen is you probably get somebody that's young and somebody who's charismatic, and all of a sudden now he's in charge of Iran. This is not going to be your just typical regime change walk in the park. So that's just the chart. That's just Iran's chart. All right. We're almost an hour into the show. So thank you and welcome to the show. Let me show you just real quick here. Let's just go over to Britney Spears' chart. Hold on. Let me do this. I'm just going to put in somebody's. I'm just going to show you what I like about Astro theme. Why don't we put in? I don't know. Here, we'll just go here. Let's go with Barack Obama, since we've been talking about Barack Obama. So you can see born on the same day, if we agree that this is his day. You got Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. Do you think they've ever celebrated their birthdays together? I bet you they have. I bet you they've worn little birthday hats at the same birthday together. Let me just see. My curiosity has been aroused. Let's just see. Nope. Hold on. That's not true. Nope. She wanted to be a part of the 60th birthday, but apparently was not wanted there. She and Harry were not invited. So I guess that they didn't wear the little hats. They did not wear the little hats. All right, let's go back to Obama. Where is that? Okay. So, but you can see, right? Like, okay. Born on the same day. Meghan, the Sprouses, we guess our twins, Billy Bob Thornton, Louis Armstrong, Louis Armstrong, Louis Vuitton, Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. And then you can see the moon, birth charts having the moon at 3 degrees Gemini. And then they have the big three, Sun in Leo, moon in Gemini, ascendant in Aquarius. So you would have anybody, Adam Timmerman, Who's his name? Who the hell is he? Christian Bernard, a bunch of people. I don't even know who they are. I think he's a writer, John D. McDonald. Is anybody else? Celebrities with the big three. I guess that's all we got. But you could do that, right? You can put in, you can put search terms in here. So there are certain things in terms of comps that I do like about this chart or this website. Does he have any overlap with Iran? Maybe Pluto. Maybe Pluto on Saturn. Quite possibly. Okay, let's do this. We'll do a stop share here. And let's do a little check-in with everybody. Let's see how everybody's doing. I haven't read much of the comments tonight. Then we'll do a little True Hemp Science, and then we'll look at the bombing chart. Megan is a real enigma. I do think we need to add 6 years to birth date. Could be. A lot of these, the Shah was put in power. Of course. They overthrew Mossadegh. Mossadegh was a threat. He wanted to nationalize the oil. And the Shah was actually they wanted the Shah to run the coup on Mossadegh, but he didn't do it. So they sent him out so he wouldn't fuck up. And they brought in Kermit Roosevelt, who was, Franklin Roosevelt's nephew. So, yeah. That's how he got there. Anyway, you sound uncomfortably congested. It is what it is. Good morning, Lunar Dust. Mossadegh was voted in. Yeah, he was. He was legit. Mossadegh was legit. And then the oil companies wanted him out because he wanted to nationalize the oil in Iran. And so they couped him. And then the Shah was, like I said, he was shitting his pants. He was supposed to run the coup. But he couldn't and didn't. Let's see, Makeda Solashiba, what's happening? Steve Letro. We have Ruhollah Mousavi Khamenei, born May 17th, 1900. He was an Iranian politician and Shia cleric, and served as his first supreme leader from 79. You ever see how Sean Connery and the Ayatollah look alike? You guys ever seen this? I mean, it really gets you to think about, like, are they playing fucking roles? I mean, I'm just being like, is this one of the greatest roles that Sean Connery ever played? Right here. Look at that. Look at that right there. Pretty interesting, huh? Pretty interesting. You know, he did play in the cinematic version of Rudyard Kipling's The Man Who Would Be King. And he does become a king, which I find rather interesting. And there was a time when Sean Connery wasn't making a bunch of movies. Maybe it was during the 80s. It's one of those internet rumors I love. Let's see. America doesn't care what regime is in charge as long as they steal the oil and other resources. Well, I will say this to that, Peter. that if somebody emerges out of the chaos that is completely uncontrollable, they will care. They will care. And we're not really doing the regime change for America. Who are we doing the regime change for? We're doing it for Israel. We are doing it for Israel. Donald Trump is being compromised. And all of a sudden, we're not talking about the Epstein files anymore. If you want to know who wants the fucking regime change, it's the other country that begins with an I. Right? So it's not about us. We're one of the puppets. We're the puppets with lots of bombs and missiles. That's who we are. Let's see. Siren just went off again. Bombs. She likes Sean Connery and Zardoz. Renee, you like Sean's onesie. Let's be honest about that. This is what Renee likes right here. All you ladies out there. This is what you like about Sean Connery and Zardoz. Right here. I don't know why this didn't catch on more. You know what I mean? I don't know why. Like maybe in the Castro, there may have been a few weeks where this was, sort of the bathhouse uni of choice in the Castro. I love Zardoz. I think it's a great movie. But there you go. Sean Connery in his what is that? Like a jock strap? It's like a Valentine's Day jockstrap for the Castro. That's what that is. All right. Who else do we have? Let's see. See, look at that. Lissa Ayers. Look at that. See? Right here. Hubba hubba. See what I'm talking about? Hi, Catherine. Good to see you too. Saw an interesting analysis of Zardoz the other day. Zardoz is a trip, man. Yeah, it's his version of a one piece, right? Let's see. Iran is scaring the new rich residents of the Emirates away from an Abraham Accord future. Well, let them had their choice, They had their choice. They could. First of all, Saudi Arabia is kind of in without signing any paper. They're kind of in, right? Jared goes there all the time, gets a shit ton of money, and gives them a shit ton of American technology. Saudi Arabia is the China for the Trump administration. Remember China during the Clintons? Boy, were they good customers or what? They were good for business. Saudi Arabia is that country for the Trumps. It's not China. It's Saudi Arabia. They've got the same kind of fiduciary technological transfer relationship going on. Let's see. Hi, Diane. It's Diane from New York. Hi, Diane from New York. The sirens are close. So, Lunar Duchess, are you in Iran? Is that where you are? Where are you? What is your location? Let's see. Hammer Hammock. Steve, way with words. Where are you, Lunar Duchess? They're going. I want to find out where she is. Can you give us a relative? She's in Kuwait. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jim McCarthy. Sirens going off in Kuwait. They're not on the Abraham Accords list. I don't know. The UAE was, and they got shelled. They've hit multiple U.S. bases already. Heard Trump actually offered a ceasefire through the Italians. U.S. 1 hour to Saudi. Wow. Well, thanks for being a part of the show, and I hope you. I know this sounds cliche, but I hope you stay safe. I really do, and that you're living through a very historical moment in time. Look at gas prices tomorrow. Nothing is concrete in war. Yeah, it's true. Lots of shifting alliances. This is why the Trump administration went to Venezuela, because they knew that they were going to go into the Middle East and there would be an issue with Iran, and the Strait of Hormuz, problematic, could be very problematic. So they needed a second option. And I think the U.S. just took 2 million barrels of oil from a seized tanker from Venezuela not long ago. I don't know if it's 1-to-1. Iran's capacity to produce crude oil, which I'm not sure we're getting, by the way, but it's not really that. It's the access to the Strait of Hormuz. If you've ever seen the Strait of Hormuz, it's not big. It's not huge, right? You can get sort of caught up in there, right? So that's the problem. But it's not 1-to-1, because the manufacturing of the crude from Venezuela is completely outdated and not able to reach volume and scale. They've been doing some, but clearly not the level that the United States would need in order to make sure that we had some supply that would come in while whatever the fuck happens in the Middle East happens. 20 minutes from bases. Wow. I went through the Strait of Hormuz in Iran in the distance from Dubai. It sounds like the opening of a novel. Here it is right here, the first sentence. I once viewed the Strait of Hormuz and Iran in the distance from Dubai. And as I did, I pondered and reminisced on my time in this great land, in my torrid love affair with a desert sheik that branded my soul like a hot, scorching iron. There you go, Barbara of Arabia. Sounds like a Somerset Maugham novel. All right, doesn't it? It does. Everyone agrees that the closed Strait of Hormuz would be a really big deal. We're not talking, closing a little interstate for a while. Like, that's a big deal. A very big deal. All right. Your no torrid love affair. I was imagining a romantic novel for you, Barbara. Okay. Let's see. Where do we want to go from here? Oh, all right. So I have a call to action for you guys. Let me do 2 bits of business. 2 bits of business. One is personal. The other is for a friend. So we do the personal part, we'll do the friend part, and we'll get back to astrology. I promise. Okay. So on the personal side, of course, we have to talk about True Hemp Science. And True Hemp Science is and has been the sponsor of this show going on almost 4 years now. And Chris's products are, they're elite, best of brand, best of breed. And he's got some new products going on that he is infusing with Shilajit. Third-party lab tested for safety and purity. Third-party lab tested. That's not a fly-by-night operation. And all you got to do, whether it's their gummies, which I really highly recommend, or their tinctures, like Dose helps you sleep at night, right? You order $100 of stuff, type in 15MINS, and guess what you'll get? You will get, what else do we have here? Focus, sleep. Oh, he's got this all broken down. How about sleep? You guys are into sleep. There's all your sleep products. Hypnotica, good stuff. You get $100 and we're typing 15MINS, and you will get a goodie bag on top of your order. And there are a number of people who have tried the product in chat, and they will tell you all about it, how good it is. It's not only good, it is good for you as well. And he's got a bunch of other stuff as well, too. He's got some, what else does he have here? By cannabinoids, by CBD, got minerals. So we have biosilica, bioavailable liquid silica. We've got, oh, look at this is what we were talking about here. Repair with shilajit and fulvic acid. Ocean minerals. That's a good one. So you can always make an appointment, book a consultation, find out what's right for you. And once you buy it, tell them you're coming here through the 11th house on Robert Phoenix. You might even throw a little bit extra on top of that goodie bag order. $150 or more is always free shipping. All right, so here's the personal thing. Now, I have a link for this inside the show notes. And now I know this guy looks intense. He's actually a really nice guy. He's my housemate, and he moved in, I don't know, September. He was my personal trainer, but then my heart started to go kind of bonkers, right? So we're building that back up. That's the muscle I'm building back up. But my buddy Homer, personal trainer who now lives here, is in the competition for Mr. Health and Fitness, right? Mr. Health and Fitness, right there. So all you got to do is help him, right? To help him move along and get the $20,000 prize, which will help him pay rent for quite a while here. Just vote right there. So it'll be featured in Muscle Magazine. You take home $20K. That's at least 6 months worth of rent. But he's a great guy. Here's what will happen. If you vote for him, it takes you to Facebook. And you have to validate who you are through Facebook. It's another step in the process. But I just put a vote in for him. And he's a really great dude, and had some real challenges in his life, and he's getting it back together and doing amazing things. So the link is in the description for the show notes. So click on there, click a vote. Let's see if we can get him up in the standings a little bit. I'll put that on Facebook as well. All right, let's get back into some astrology. So let's look at the attack here. This is the attack. Yeah, okay. This is the visual that you need right here. Let me we'll hide that. Okay, this is the visual that you need right here. All right, so remember, I'm using the astro.com. Again, I don't know why it's off. It's just, and it bugs me. Like it bugs my Virgo essence that the two aren't the same. But that said, you can see Saturn, Neptune here, right? Saturn, Neptune, right here, right there. There's the IC, and it was at 9:45 a.m. So they started to drop the bombs in broad daylight. People sitting around having their Turkish coffees. And the next thing you know, all hell breaks loose. But that's really, this is the visual right here, right? Saturn, Neptune in the home. Now, in this chart, of course, the sun is closer to the IC. So which charts are probably more, I might go with the Astro theme version because Saturn and Neptune were right over the target, literally. South node on Saturn. That's a collapse of leadership. What degree is that Saturn at? So the eclipse is going to be on Iran, Saturn. Boy, are they fucked. So the eclipse, the upcoming eclipse, right, which is what, the 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be right on Iran, Saturn. Ooh. That is who's going to be in charge? That's what I want to know. Who is going to be in charge? Now, the eclipse itself be visible mostly in the South Pacific. Okay. But I wonder when I look at this, and I see this eclipse on Saturn, even though it won't be completely over Iran, I just wonder if they're going to be dealing with like darkness, like the power going out. You know what I mean? I could see that. I could definitely see that. I'm going back in time a little bit here. Let me see if I can find something. All right, let me see what we got here. Yep. Yeah, that's what I thought. So this was, let me show you this. We'll get back to that eclipse. But this is the last time that Saturn was going through Iran's 4th house, and that there was a massive earthquake, 6.5, killed 88 people and injured 1,948. So I knew that had happened. I wanted to go back and see, because I knew that had happened. They had another massive earthquake after an even bigger one right here, May 10th. 1,567 people. Again, Saturn going through Iran's 4th house. That's fucking huge. And one of these earthquakes was triggered by an eclipse. It might have been the following year. I think it might have been the following year. Anyway, so now we've got an eclipse happening right on Saturn's. Let me see if I can find it in my files. Give me 1 second. Where's the eclipse? I might have ditched the eclipse. Hold on. Let's see. It's 2024. Let me do this. I'm going to put this eclipse in. Just so you guys can see it. All right, so let's see. All right. Now this is a total lunar eclipse, which we've talked about, and it is a blood moon, a rare spectacle. So it's a loom over North America. Ah, really? Western North America. Yeah. Western North America, Australia, New Zealand. So mostly in the Pacific, which we looked at. All right. So let's do this chart. We have, let's see, what is the time here? Full. By the way, did anybody go out and see the planets on the ecliptic last night? We did. It was great. I have this app. I really dig this app. I'm going to show you this app. It's pretty cool. I like to use it. I should probably get the updated version of it. But it's called, was it Star Guide? Sky Guide. You can find it on Apple, probably the Apple Store, right, for both systems. And you just look at, you just hold it up and it shows you where, like right now, it's showing me where Regulus is, right? And there's the moon, right? There's the moon in Leo, right above Regulus, right there. It's really cool. And if I go over here, right, I can see Sirius right here. This helps you locate stuff. I'm not sure what it's showing now. It's probably showing behind me what I'm not seeing. And then it'll actually take you underneath, like the ecliptic. It's really cool. And I just have the starters version. You can pay that and there's more bells and whistles. But I really like it. I think it's a cool tool. And it helped us last night with locating things, especially little tiny points of light. Okay, so the maximum eclipse is at 5:33 a.m. 5:33 a.m. Okay, let's do that. So March 3rd, 2026, 5:33 a.m. And we'll do Austin because that's the Austin time for it. 5:33 a.m. Okay. Austin, Texas. All right, so there's the eclipse. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it over Iran's chart. We'll do a little synastry here. And let's do Iran right there. And then let's do the lunar eclipse. Okay, right there. Bada bing. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, so this is what I wanted to show you guys. Because visuals always help. I'm a visual person. So you can see, right? There's the eclipse, and there is Saturn in Iran's chart. And you got the south node right there. And then down here, of course, you'll see the transiting sun and true node. And I don't know, it feels a lot like a blackout to me. This is going to be really interesting, this eclipse. Like with Virgo, I think things can go two ways. One, it's like getting more Spartan and just getting down, right? Like Virgo has an amazing capacity to survive. And part of it has to do with its mutability, right? And earth signs in general tend to be survivors. You know, like sometimes with air signs and things get hot and intense, you know, air signs will buckle. They just can't handle the density. Air signs are not good with density. They're just not. Fire signs aren't good with density either. The more dense the environment or the more pressure, stressful the situation, unless a fire sign can channel their fire like a laser beam into a narrow focus, they can get through it. But they're more inclined to kind of burn it all down when things get very intense. Water signs can go with the flow a little bit more. Earth signs endure. That's what they do. And the sign that is probably the most enduring is Capricorn. But I put in the Earth category, I put Virgo right behind Capricorn. Not far, actually. So this also gets back to like what happens next. Do they buckle and fold, which could happen with the moon in Virgo? It's a weak moon, right? Especially when it's eclipsed, and it's a blood moon. Could they fold and just say, "Okay, we'll wave the white flag. You won. We're regime changing it." I mean, is it really going to be that easy? Or does this eclipse signal something else? That, and especially, you know, the reason it's a blood moon is because it's closer to the Earth, theoretically. And when it's closer to the Earth, it picks up more oxidation as it relates to the Earth's atmosphere. Hence the red part and the blood part. But it is very dramatic, right? And the fact that it's really close, and it's a blood moon, and it's a lunar eclipse, like a full lunar eclipse. I mean, there's a lot of drama here with this eclipse on Tuesday. A lot of drama. And for you mutable signs could get interesting. Because the moon in Virgo wants to be in control, right? I mean, it's just the nature of it. Virgo wants to be, moon in Virgo really wants to be in control. But with the South Node there and the eclipse portion of it, this whole idea of control is kind of a fallacy. At least this is what I see happening. Like, control is exposed. Now we could use that as a bigger platform for all the signs in our current condition, that control is an illusion. And we're in the case of Iran, you're dealing with two planets that have nothing in common with each other except their oppositional energies. The moon and Saturn are opposed, right? There's something oddly alchemical about this. But again, when you look at the chart, they're not doing anything except for opposing the transiting sun and, Ceres and the True Node. And what's also interesting here is that these nodes are almost completely reversed for Iran, right? So Iran's got the South Node in Pisces, the True Node in Virgo, transiting True Node, South Node in Virgo, transiting True Node in Pisces. So this is a pole shift. And I guess if I had to put a label on this, right, with the shifting of the poles, that this would definitely look like some kind of a regime change. But I don't think it's going to go the way they want, right? I just don't think it's going to go the way they want. I think that they'll get a regime change. And remember, we're kind of in that eclipse territory now, and we'll be for about a week and a half after. And even we'll throw Mercury retrograde in on this eclipse. It's like, okay, we'll agree to your regime change. And here's our presumptive candidate. And let's say the powers that be agree with that candidate. Well, that candidate could be even worse than whatever this imam was purported to be. It's like, oh, you got your regime change and you don't like it now? We gave you what you wanted. I could see that happening. Like, this is a really critical fucking eclipse for Iran. And if it's a critical eclipse for Iran, it's critical for the rest of the world. That's how I see it. And when you get into Pisces is a we talked about Pisces last week, and it's a weird sign. Like, it's good, Pisces is interesting. We saw all the eclectic and creative energies that were part of Pisces, but you think that Pisces is just going to fold up, right? But they don't always do that. Like, all of a sudden you'll see this really intense, kind of reserve with a Pisces. It's almost like what would I call it? Like a tsunami effect with Pisces. And all of a sudden they're marshaling all their energy, and it's like this massive wall of water that comes crashing in on shore. And they'll surprise you with that every now and then. It's like, where the fuck did that come from? It's not always a placid and passive sign. And it is for the most part, but the ocean can be very rough and turbulent. And the same thing can be said about Pisces. The turbulent nature, I think, is more of a day-to-day reality for Pisces than perhaps any other sign. They're up, they're down, they're up, they're down. It's like the waves. And being with the Pisces is like being on a boat out in the ocean. It takes you a while until you're no longer seasick. No, I'm just kidding. We love Pisces. Bless their pointed little heads. Most misunderstood sign in the zodiac after Virgo. Could this be positive? We get all doomy and gloomy about eclipses. We've all seen Apocalypto. And if we haven't, we should. It's one of the greatest movies ever. And a solar eclipse is a pivotal moment in that movie. And what's interesting about that solar eclipse is that for one group, it becomes this omen, right? This omen. They don't really understand it. All they know is that whatever they're doing, they need to stop because the gods are not well pleased. So for that group, that eclipse turns out to be sort of the beginning of the end of their civilization. We're talking the Mayans here. But for our hero, that eclipse saves his life. That eclipse sets him free because as the sun is moving into the eclipse phase, that guy's about ready to pluck his heart out from the peak of this pyramid, this Mayan pyramid, blood-stained Mayan pyramid, where they're ripping out hearts and chopping off heads. That's what they're doing. So for him, the eclipse turns out to be the most advantageous thing in his life. But for the culture at large, it turns out not only to be an ominous sign, but is the beginning of their downfall. That's it. So that's an example of an eclipse working in somebody's favor. Saved that motherfucker's life. Now, he had to get through the jungle and do a bunch of other things in order to find his wife and his kids and all that stuff, right? So he had to work hard, but that eclipse saved his ass. So maybe there's a side of this eclipse that is similar that we're just not really seeing because it's so isolated, right? It's in this oppositional relationship with everything. You know, there's no other angularity going on. And maybe this eclipse could signal a very rapid end to whatever they kickstarted on Saturday. It's quite possible. But again, I will say this, that you may get your regime change, but you may not get it with the person that there are unintended consequences here. Unintended consequences. I'm just going to throw this out to you. What if what they've done recently, right? And basically on the run up to this eclipse, what if they have activated the Antichrist? I'm just throwing this out there. And what if the Antichrist is supposed to come from the Middle East? That's where he's supposed to come from. And what if the Antichrist is the person who is put into regime change in Iran? And everybody feels really good about it. And I'm not talking about the Shah's kid. We may not even know who this person is. And the next thing you know, it's like, oh, we found the perfect guy. And the people like him. The people of Iran like him. Israel goes, yeah, thumbs up. It's like, okay, there you go, dude. Just follow our orders and you'll be good. Famous last words. I'm just saying. Because there's something about this eclipse on their Saturn that it's like, on the surface, it looks like it could work out okay, right? Maybe the final pieces of the darkness of the Imams and the Khomeinis are exposed, and you get your regime change, and it's all mutable, and it's all Virgoan, and it feels like some kind of purgative experience, which is what you get with Virgo. But there's unintended consequences to it. And whoever emerges out of it might be even worse than the guy that you're kicking out. So this is, again, timing is everything astrologically. Like, this eclipse is happening on fucking Iran Saturn. Highest planet in the chart. Leadership. And it could be like, oh, look, it's the return of the feminine. The feminine is coming back. Women were wearing skirts anyway. You know, I was looking at videotape from Iran over the last year, and you know, in the urban areas, not every woman wore hijab. It didn't seem as backwards and medieval and brutal as they've described it. It seemed like, you know, people hanging out at like any other fucking country. You know, people just hanging out and trying to live their lives and, you know, find their niche, right? Raise their kids, do those things. I don't live there. I don't know if it was somebody just going to all the right neighborhoods, but what I saw reminded me of almost any other country in the world where people are just trying to get on and live their lives. And some of the women were wearing hijabs and some weren't. More weren't than were. Remember, this is in the urban areas. Outside of it, different. And I'm like, what are we doing here? These people look fairly normal to me. You know? Anyway, there's something about this eclipse that on this Saturn, for them, that I think is what you see is not what you get. Let's put it that way. What you see is not what you get. All right, so let me just break it down, bullet point this thing. This would be, if we're just looking at the current condition there, it would be like a call for some form of solidarity, being able to live with austere conditions, and being mutable and surviving. Right? It'd be kind of the next level of that. And people doubling down. Like, you know, these people from that part of the world, they're fucking tough, man. I mean, look at what the Palestinians have had to go through for the last almost 80 years. These are tough people. And the thing that amazes me about a lot of the Palestinians is how they still have their hearts intact. It's, you know, it's a superhuman almost ability to endure intense conditions and suffering and still retain one's humanity. I'm fucking blown away by these people's by their reserve. And I would say that genetically that the Persians are not too far off from the Palestinians. They're Semitic people. And some of the most beautiful and heart-centered people I've ever met have been Persians. Very intelligent. The word I would use with most Persians is classy. Now, I'm sure there's bad apples in every bunch, but that was always my experience. I'm very cultured, classy, like inspired by the arts, decent people as far as my experience has gone. And I know that, there's, like I said, there's rotten eggs in every group, but I didn't experience many of them. But then there's this ability to endure, growing up in harsh conditions, harsh sun, the things that go along with it. They cultivate a being. They really do. We have it easy here. We have it so easy. We don't know how easy we have it. So I could see them doubling down and getting through this. I could also see where a significant blackout in this country occurs. And then we have the attendant potential for regime change, but not getting what you think you're getting. Like you think you're getting a puppet, but this is not a puppet. So that's my take here. That's my take. And this is a very complicated situation. We've looked at these other charts, right? This is the attack. You remember Saturn still has to go past the sun, still has to oppose Pluto, right? There's very, very deep happenings in the cradle of Iran, right down here. Okay, so let's see. What else do we have? I want to talk about Austin. Let's talk about Austin. We had a shooting last night in Austin. And I wanted to show you guys this photo. And you know what happens? It's happened to me. I hate to say this, but when I hear that there's a shooting, it's not like I don't care. But my capacity to feel into these events has drastically diminished. And I mean drastically. Like we've been so yanked on on these chains. And oh God, prayers go out. Prayers go out for everyone. Oh, those poor children. Those poor, like it's happened so many times. And in many of these instances, what you're seeing is not what's really happening. I think we can agree upon that. And then you begin to say to yourself, well, why the fuck should I be spending emotional energy on something that isn't happening the way that they say it's happening? If you're self-aware, you're not going to do it. Why? You're not going to do it. Because after a while, you realize you're being had, you're being duped, and your emotional energy is being used in a way to fuel further events, right? And if you're into the Archon world, then it's like, yeah, your energy's fueling the Archons, and they're looshing it up, right? The problem is that when something does happen that is tragic, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, you don't give a shit. Well, it's because I've trained myself not to give a shit or to care less. That's a tough one. But I think that I'd like to think that if we are not so predisposed to hit the ideological setting, like the ideological default setting, that the event itself will inform us as to our true emotional response. That's what I think. Right? That's what I think. I'd like to think that, like that we have enough emotional and somatic awareness to know when something has really gone off the rails, and then we can respond accordingly. And I think that that's true. So we had this shooting, and I'm going to bring up the chart here. So it happened at 2 a.m. in Austin. Now, what you'll find here is you'll find a chart that looks in some ways a lot like Iran's chart, with a few exceptions, of course. Both Iran and the U.S. are Sag rising. I do use the Sibley chart for the U.S., so you're going to see some similar things, right? Like, well, what's down here? This is the U.S. fourth house. Isn't that interesting? Saturn's going through the U.S. fourth house as well, right? And we have, this is the shooting. Now, I've been following this story kind of briefly about this company called Anthropomorphic. Have you guys heard about this story? It's quite interesting. So Anthropomorphic basically is like a competitor of Palantir. And they're able to like do all kinds of heavy duty facial recognition and all kinds of stuff, right? That kind of goes along with surveillance. And Anthropic's program, their system, has a protection setting in it. And in that setting, they basically cannot use that software and that surveillance system on the American public. The military, who has a contract with Anthropic, wants them to remove the setting. And it's not for Iranians. It's not for cartelians. It's for the American people. That is the firewall that's been set up. This company's like, yeah, you can use it. You just can't use it on the American people. So the government, whom I believe entered into a contract with Anthropic, is now threatening to sue them so that they can get full access to this tool. Why do they need full access to this tool? So you add some pieces up here, okay? So you've got Anthropic, which they're trying to crack open. They already uh, have Peter Thiel's company, Palantir, and now under the guise of voter safety, everybody's got to be on real ID because God forbid we have somebody from another country erroneously putting in a vote for a candidate that they see. All this stuff is basically served up to us on a platter in the name of security, right? We want your vote to be safe and secure. We want you to be safe and secure. Well, you keep putting all these safety and security measures in, and guess what? You run out of free space. And you are tracked and traced everywhere you go, with the final piece of the puzzle being digital currency. And then once you've got that, we've got that, we're kind of fucked, right? We're really teetering on the edge of that reset. But in order to facilitate a, how do I say this, transfer of power, there has to be one of two things that takes place. One, by the way, I there is some hope in all this. So just hang in there with me for a minute. So Jesus, Robert, can you get any more depressed? There's two scenarios. Well, there's three. Scenario one is we just keep sort of doing this game theory dance where let's say we're Russia. When I say we, I'm talking about the American people. And the United States is the United States. And I know that they have vast military, and, you know, Joe Biden has told us you don't want to take on an F-16. But at the same time, the amount of arms that are owned by Americans is something crazy. It's like 10 times the amount of the American military. Like, Americans are armed to the fucking teeth. Trust me, I live in Texas. So how do you get the arms out of the hands of the people so that ultimately, if you flip the switch and you go into a high security surveillance state with a digital economy, and you got a bunch of people that don't want to be a part of it, how do you deal with those people who, generally speaking, are well armed? Well, there's two ways you can go about it if we go down this path. The first is that you incite a civil war, so you have a Hatfields versus a McCoy's situation, and you wind up having a lot of these people take each other out, right? And then it gets to a point where it's really bad, and then the military comes in and does like a martial law thing. That's one version of this. Second version is that you get into a heavy duty either gun confiscation or buyback situation. So let's say, for instance, we'll do it for instance, they go full on digital economy. And if you want to have your bank account juiced, right? Let's say you have an AK-47, and you sell it to the government, that AK-47 is going to be worth a lot in terms of your digital dollars that they'll dump in there, right? Oh, wow, that was a lot. That was a lot of digital dollars, a lot of digital dawns. I got a few more of those. You want some? Oh yeah, sure. Right. So you incentivize people, and it's all fucking zeros and ones anyway. So what does it matter for them? Right. Like, their blockchain is theoretically infinite. So they could say, yeah, we'll your AK-47, we'll give you $10,000 for that. And you may have paid $3,500 and you're thinking, shit, all right, I'll do it. I need the money. Would you like some of these? Oh yeah, sure, we'll take those as well. Right. So that's the carrot. That's the carrot approach. You're not going to get everybody with the carrot approach. You'll get some people. And they may keep a few on the side just in case. Right. And then there's the stick approach. And the stick approach would be you have 90 days to do a buyback program. And then everybody that has a firearm after 90 days after the buyback program, you're subject to not just fines, but jail time as well. And they have vast records. And if they even think that you are a gun owner, right, they will make a trip to your place and they'll confiscate it. And that's the stick, right? So if you don't want people who disagree with your new monetary system and how you're rewarded with it, you must remove the deterrence for that in some way, shape, or form or another. That's if we go down that path, right? So Saturn in Aries is, and we still have Chiron in the U.S. fourth house. So are we at war with Iran? Yeah. Are we at war with ourselves? That's the interesting question. And that's what we're going to have to determine here. Because this is what happened in Austin on Sunday morning at 2 a.m. or Saturday morning at 2 a.m. Sunday morning, 2 a.m. Right there. Saturn. Boom. In the USIC. Right there. So I saw this. This was sent to me. And this gets into this whole fall. Now, I have a difference of opinion about how this is being presented. So this guy supposedly is the shooter. And I think it says what? Property of Allah, right? Isn't that what it says? Kind of like property of Penn State or property of Ohio State. Property of Allah. That almost looks AI'd. Like AI does weird lettering shit. That's just some weird lettering shit. Am I right? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just because he's fat. Anyway, this is supposedly the gunman. Should we watch this? Somebody said that the CPR thing is wrong. And why is she doing CPR when the cops are there? There's a cop. Why is she doing it? How come the CPR guy's not doing it? Well, that makes no sense. That just makes no sense. Why are they letting her do it? I mean, you have professionals there. Okay, so false flag. This looks so fake. How else could they take attention off Trump's victory in Iran? I don't really see it that way. I see them working hand in glove with one another. Right? So now we have a terror threat at home. Let's go back to the chart. Right there. Just like we had Saturn in Tehran's fourth house, Saturn comes to Austin, comes to the United States, right? This event. Oh, now we've got terrorists here. Now we've got people that have guns, right? And they go into nightclubs in Austin. And we need to remove these guns. We need to determine who the threat is. And it always starts off that the threat is the Muslim. It always starts off with the Muslim, but it doesn't end that way. Like that's how it started in the Bush administration. But by the time we get to Obama, it's not the Muslim anymore. It's like the white guy. The white guy's the problem with Obama, right? Or at least the people that were part of the Obama wave began to identify whiteness as a problem, not Muslimness. It's not a word. You know what I mean? So I don't think these two are mutually exclusive. I think they are hand in glove. And by the way, that looks fake as fuck. That photo, it looks like it looks like an AI. So I think they work hand in glove. It's not about taking away from Trump's victory and Trump's shine. It's about ultimately disarming the American public. And quite frankly, I don't think Donald Trump has fired a gun since his days at military academy. And even then, they probably had those wooden ones that you used to march. I don't think Trump has fired a gun. He goes to a golf range, not a shooting range. He's got other people around him who shoot guns. So Trump doesn't have any investment in firearms. And he's used language about the Second Amendment that kind of makes you scratch your head a little bit. Like, where's this guy coming from? So I just wanted to bring this up because I think the two are related, but they're not related in this way. They're not related in this way. They're related that this is an ongoing threat. We have to mobilize. We have to use more surveillance, more security, more real ID, more background checks, and eventually we can't let these get into the hands of people like this. So if you have a comment Long term, you could leave it in the chat. But if you have a comment that you want to put on the channel, and let me know if you think it was a real event or a false flag / psyop. Let me know. Let me know what you think, or if you think it's real. Usually, what happens, invariably, I'll get some from somebody who said, "My friend knew somebody who was there." I can't tell you how many times that's happened. It happened with the Pulse nightclub in Miami. It's happened on more than one. Oh, I knew somebody who was at what was it, Route 66 or whatever that bar was in California, where they had the shooter in the bar. Remember that? And it was kind of a reunion for the people that were in Las Vegas. You remember that? Anyway, I'm just, I'm skeptical. Because I've seen too many of these things. I've seen too many of these things. Now, you can, love the country and love the president. There's nothing wrong with that. Right? But if we're just looking at the astrology, like even if I were to take the US chart, like that chart is like the transits for the US chart. That chart right here, right there. These are the transits for the US chart. Right there. Saturn's going to be in the US fourth house. It's not going anywhere. Like it's there. Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, like they're there. The inner planets, Mercury, Moon, like they'll move. They're fast. Venus. I'll tell you what, though, we got all those planets, and they're all congregating in Aries in April, and they're all going to be US fourth house. And honestly, it feels a bit like a bloodbath, not in a good way. I mean, this is that Aries alignment. Here, I'll show it to you. We're going visual today. We're getting all visual and shit. Okay, hold on. I wasn't planning on going there, but I am going to now. Let's see. This is what happens. We have a game plan, and then the game plan has us. All right, so let's see what we got here. Okay, all right, there we go. All right. So April 16th, 17th, it's Friday. We'll do that. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, Neptune, all in Aries. Okay. And that is the 17th. Let's do that. Let's do US. By the way, we're not talking about Jeffrey Epstein now, are we? We're talking about Iran, and Austin, and all this other stuff. All right, let's do this. And let's edit that. So let's go April. And we're going to go April, what did I say, 17th? I think I said 17th. Just make sure. Yeah. Okay, so April 17th, 2026. We'll do high noon. And let's do Washington. DC. Okay. Here we go. All right. This is what we're looking at, folks. I'm going to go back one day. 16th. We got to get the moon in there. There we go. Okay. So there's Mercury, there's Mars, there's Saturn, there's Neptune, there's the moon, there's Chiron, there's the sun, all in frickin' Aries, and all going through the US fourth house. And what's it doing? Squaring. Square city, man. Squaring Jupiter, squaring Venus, squaring the sun, squaring Mercury. That is a bloody chart. Not only that, but we've got more. Yes, we've got more. We've got a Sun-Pluto square happening. This is on Thursday, April 16th. Put this week of April on your calendar. It's a biggie. Real big. Even if here, let's just put it like this. Even if we're not breaking out in some kind of civil war, people are going to be pissed. Like there's very little patience in the chart. Maybe transiting Venus and Taurus, trining Neptune in Virgo. Maybe. But there's so little patience in this chart. And this is all cardinal. These are all cardinal letters. So something is triggered in a very, very big way. Dare I say bloody? This looks bloody. And it's just 4 days before 420. And we know what happens. We know what happens around 420. $420 is the sacrificial days to Moloch, right? That's what happens on 420. Let me see. April 16th. On 1457, it's the Battle of Megiddo, which was fought between the Egyptian forces under the command of Pharaoh Thutmose III and a large rebellious coalition of Canaanite vassal states led by the king of Kadesh. That's a major battle. Masada. This is 73. This is all on this day, April 16th. Masada, a Jewish fortress, falls to the Romans after several months of siege, ending the first Jewish-Roman war. So you've got the Battle of Megiddo, and then you have Masada. Holy shit. That's huge. Let's see. What's more contemporary? A lot of Civil War stuff. So the Emancipation Act becomes law that day in 1862. Wow. Let's see. Anything else? Lenin. Lenin touches down in Petrograd from exile in Switzerland. The fucking Germans, man. The Germans had Lenin in prison. And they're at war. And the Germans were at war with the Russians. What do? They sent Lenin back to Russia so that he could create his own war against the Russians from the Germans were fucking smart. They still lost the war, but they were smart. They're like, yeah, let's send him Lenin. We'll send Lenin back there. Before he got to Belgium, he was in Germany. So that's April 16th. Lenin sets foot on Russia and begins the Bolshevik Revolution. Let's see. It's huge. Got a big massacre by the British colonial troops. But on April 16th, 1919, Gandhi organizes a day of prayer and fasting. Let's see. Albert Hofmann discovered LSD on April 16th. Let's see. The Red Army begins the final assault on German forces. The United States Army liberates Nazi Sonderlager prisoner of war camp. Okay. The German transport ship Goya is sunk by a Soviet submarine. Interesting. I wonder if they're on their way to Argentina. Let's see. In 1947, I'll show you, Bernard Baruch applies the term Cold War to describe the relation between the United States and the Soviet Union. In 1948, the Organization of the European Economic Cooperation is formed. In a nationally broadcast speech in 1961, Cuban leader Fidel Castro declares that he is Marxist-Leninist and Cuba is going to adopt communism. So you got Lenin landing in Russia and basically taking over the Bolshevik Revolution. And then you have Castro in 1961 basically playing the same Lenin role. That's interesting. We got Martin Luther King ripping off a speech. No, I'm just kidding. He wrote a letter from a Birmingham jail. We've got the Apollo program. How about that? Let's see what else. Got a big massacre by Boko Haram. Remember them? Remember that guy? That was weird. Let's see. We got... but if we go just a couple days later, I'll show you. We get into the contemporary side of things. This is when a lot of high strange starts to take place. Where is it? We get Sirhan convicted of assassinating Kennedy. That's one day later, but that's not what I'm looking for. Where is it? Let's do one more day. This is where we're getting into like the days of Molech stuff. right? Sometimes they take this stuff down. Nasser sees power. That's interesting. Here we go. This will put us right dead center. Let's see what we got here. "200 ATF and FBI agents lay siege to the compound of the white supremacist survivalist group." Do you see how they turn it? Like, there were black people. You ever see the racial breakdown of the Branch Davidians? They were not white supremacists. Oh, this is the Covenant and the Sword. This is in Arkansas. My bad. No, I'm talking about this one down here. The fire breaks out. So they lay siege to the Covenant and the Sword and the Arm of the Lord in Arkansas. The Simpsons first appear, right? Then you have the Branch Davidians being set on fire by Janet Reno. Then you have the Oklahoma City bombing. That's all April 19th. Do you see where this is going? It's right around that time. Boston Marathon, bomber suspect. Tamerlan Tsarnaev killed in a shootout with police. He was not killed. He was not killed. I saw what happened to him. He was stripped down naked and put into a cop car. I watched it live as it was happening on CNN. I stayed up till 3:30 in the morning watching that. He was not killed. No. Let's see. Killing spree in Nova Scotia leaves 22 people dead, making it the deadliest rampage in the country. You see the pattern here now? This is the pattern we're in. Right, let's do 420. Okay, so what do we have here? Columbine Massacre, 420. The Deepwater Horizon drilling rig in the Gulf of Mexico explodes, killing 11 workers. Being an oil spill that lasted 6 months, the effects of it lasted much longer than that. Like, this is some big shit here. You got 20 Jewish kids used in medical experiments, 1945. This is okay. So let's go back to our chart. That's not the one we want. Here's what we want right here. Okay, now we just have April 16th because of the moon. Right? We go ahead 3-4 days, 420. I guarantee you, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, and Neptune, they're all in Aries. And the sun is just hitting like Taurus, right? So we'll show you. So all those Aries planets still very much apply to that magic 420 day. So the sun is in 0 Taurus, and there they are. Saturn, Neptune, Mars, Mercury, Aries, all right there, all 4th house. And it's still just as bloody, right? If we wanted to go back one day, and then we'll go 419, because we know shit happens on 419 as well. That puts the sun at 29, Aries, Anoretic. And still we have all those planets in Aries. And oh, by the way, a Moon Uranus conjunction that day as well. Look at that. Uranus is at 29, just ready to go into Gemini. Anoretic. Sun, Uranus, not quite a sextile. Anyway, that's a big moment, right? So when we look at, the reason I'm talking about this is because when you look at what happened in Austin Saturday night, early morning, you're going to see more of these things domestically. They're going to start to happen, and they can spin these things any way they want. And sometimes you'll get copycats involved. Sometimes you'll get people that are snookered in by alphabet agencies to do things. Sometimes it's just flat out a Hollywood production, right? But I think we're going to see more of these. And it feels like April, that week, 16th to the 20th, like it's snap, crackle, pop. And at the very least, people are very angry, extremely angry. Like when I just feel into all that Aries and squaring all that Cancer, people wanting to be like, this is the Cancer of the country, pull together, have values. It skews everything. The Patriots will be off the hook. Like you will have people who are patriotic who will want blood. They will want blood. And other people are like, whoa, that's a pretty heavy response you got there, right? We'll take one last look at the chart. There it is right there. Okay. All you cardinal signs, boy, have you got some days ahead of you. But it's the fixed signs that are going to start to get the eclipse energy. That's where that's going. Take the burden off Pisces and Virgo's had a rough eclipse season. Not easy. And usually I don't bitch and moan about eclipses. I usually don't. But I'm just saying, this has been a challenging eclipse season in more ways than one. Okay. That's it. 2.5 hours of hopefully stellar astrology. I hope you learned something tonight. You may not always agree with me or my interpretations, and that's fine. What we're doing here is what I like to think that we're doing is we're exploring this together, and we are, because a lot of it I am diving into in real time. So it is an exploration together. And I do appreciate your support. So please, if you enjoyed tonight's show, hit the like button and the subscribe button. Hit the like button on the way out. Don't forget my buddy Homer, and see if you can put a vote in for him. The link is inside the information for tonight's show, the show notes. Go in there, and you don't have to do anything with anything facial. They'll just see if it's a promotional thing. It's just saying, yeah, Facebook, verify me, whatever. There's nothing insidious about it. But if you can do that and we can bump him up and get him to the next level, that'd be really great. He's been working extremely hard in his life to get there. So if you do, that'd be awesome. I'll be answering and getting back to people for readings tomorrow. It's a big day for me for that. And that's about it. Chattaria, you're the best. You're the best freaking chat room out there. I say this unequivocally. without any doubt, you're the best, the absolute best. And I have great love and fondness for all of you. Because when I was faltering, your good wishes and goodwill kept me up and kept me going. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. All right. That'll do it. God bless y'all. Love y'all. Take good care. Have a great week. We'll be back on Tuesday with the weather. Okay. Bye for now.